Hey everybody, welcome back to Tired Old Queen at the Movies. It's finally summer, it's warm out, it's June, the flowers are in bloom, and it's time for a great episode of Tired Old Queen at the Movies.
Oh, Johnny, come on in. Welcome. Tired Old Queen at the Movies. Johnny, it's Gay Pride, and I thought, well, what do I want to do that I think is kind of classic for Gay Pride, but also has to do with, old movies, Tired Old Queen at the Movies, and I found the perfect thing. 1998's Gods and Monsters, directed and written by Bill Condon. He won the Academy Award for this screenplay. This is the story of James Whale, who was the great British director in the early 30s who directed the classic horror films Frankenstein, The Old Dark House, The Bride of Frankenstein. He also directed Waterloo Bridge, the original Waterloo Bridge, and Showboat with Irene Dunne. And he was one of the great visionary directors. He was also an openly gay man, which sort of, after a while, kind of got him blacklisted. He had been lovers with David Lewis. David Lewis was one of the next big producers at Warner Brothers in the 30s and the 40s, right after Hal Wallace. David Lewis produced a lot of Bette Davis movies, and they were a couple for a long time. But gradually, James Whale's refusal not to live a sheltered lifestyle, but to be the gay man that he was, sort of got him ostracized. And gradually, by the end of the 1940s, he was basically done with and out of work. He suffered a series of strokes, and he eventually committed suicide and died by drowning in his own pool in 1957. Now, this particular story takes place shortly before that happens. It's the 1950s, and Ian McKellen, the great Sir Ian McKellen, is playing James Whale, and he's living kind of a reclusive life in this Hollywood mansion. And he has this very stern German housekeeper played by Lynn Redgrave, who practically steals the movie with his characterization. She's very, very protective of Jimmy, Mr. Jimmy.
He looks plenty big. He won't need my help if anything goes fluey.
Go. Lynn Redgrave's father was gay, Michael Redgrave, and in fact, Lynn Redgrave's mother wrote in her biography about the fact that it was sort of overlooked. It was one of those things that everybody knew about, that Michael dallied with boys, and he had this thing. So Lynn Redgrave, I think, pulled from that in a way to play this character.
Expect nothing fancy.
And she's kind of over the top, but it got her an Oscar nomination, and she's really, really wonderfully funny.
Oh, men, always pulling legs. Everything is comedy. Oh, how very amusing. How marvelously droll.
This handsome gardener shows up and starts working on the lawn, and it's Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser is one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood. He is so handsome, and he's got a wonderful sense of humor, and he's vulnerable at the same time. He's a big guy, and he's gorgeous in this movie. He is so hot. It's unbelievable. Well, Whale takes a look at this young guy and has his eye on him, but he realizes the guy's straight, and he's just trying to make a living in Hollywood. And Whale says, well, I would love if you would pose for me. I paint. Would you consider posing for me? And Fraser sort of kind of gets an idea, but he says, oh, well, no. And meanwhile, Lynn Redgrave serves them lunch, and she knows what Whale's doing. She's kind of got her eye on this guy, and she's overseeing this thing, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good.
You must think I'm terrible, Hannah.
I don't think you're anything anymore. Just back from the hospital already, you're chasing after boys.
This screenplay is so witty, and it captures the 1950s so well in Hollywood. At one point, James Whale goes to a party, and these actors playing Elsa Lanchester and Boris Karloff, who you can see these people, haven't been together since they made Bride of Frankenstein, and you see how much of an outcast James Whale has become, and how kind of Hollywood has, sort of thrown him away.
You only embarrass yourself.
Oh dear, I'll never work in this town again.
You know what I mean. Your reputation.
I have no reputation.
Fraser comes back, and of course, inevitably, he starts posing for James Whale, and Whale inevitably makes a pass at him, and Fraser gets, incensed and almost beats him up.
Mr. Boone, I assure you, I didn't mean...
Fuck this! I can't do this anymore!
Gradually, Fraser begins to feel like he's sort of being turned into a creation. And there's there's a symbolism where Fraser feels like he's the Frankenstein monster from Frankenstein, and they even do a few things where he's having a dream where he's walking, you know, and he's the monster and he's walking that thing because he's feeling manipulated eventually by James Whale, and he doesn't quite know what he's being pulled into.
What do you want from me? I want you to kill me.
In a way, they give and they take, and they have a fascinating sort of repartee with each other. And at the end, when Whale dies, he comes away having known that this wasn't something that was seedy. This was something that probably influenced him for the rest of his life, and that he met a really great man. And this is a really great film. Brendan Fraser, Ian McKellen, Lynn Redgrave, and the late and great David Dukes in Bill Condon's Gods and Monsters.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Says, well, Leslie, you know, every time I answer one of your questions, why don't you take off a piece of clothing? The guy says, really? Okay, so...
Corn can't be beat.